Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day's going fantastic. Thanks so much for joining me. Well, I'm here for Newton's Nook Designs, and we are going to create a project using a brand new stamp set that's part of the August release this month. So much fun, and there's lots of inspiration for this release over at the Newton's Nook Designs blog. I'll encourage you guys to check it out because in fact, I'll leave the link to the blog, Newton's Nook Designs blog down below, but there's so much inspiration with this brand new release. But this is the Sips and Story stamp set, 6x8 stamp set, and it does have a coordinating die, or a die set if you prefer to die cut. But we're going to be using both of these today to create our project. While I'm stamping, I'm going to stamp with Nina 80-pound cardstock with Memento ink, just the image of the sweet little girl with a coffee cup. She looks so cozy on her pillow and a good book. Love this little image, and I'm also going to stamp the small book with the heart a couple times. But sentiments in here are so fun, guys. Never judge a book by its movie. Happiness is coffee and a good book. So true. Love both of those. And I'm so glad that you're part of my story is another sentiment. And then there's also one that says the book was better. And I will take a good book over a movie any day. I just wish I had more time to read. But as I color, I'll play some music for you guys, and then when I'm done coloring, I will catch you back. Okay, coloring's all done, and I had a few issues. My BG10 leaked all over the place, and then I thought I should restamp it and read color, but then I thought, well, maybe I'll use my colorless blender, and it worked out good because I could clean up my mess up with the colorless blender. In fact, you could barely even see that I had a BG10 blotch. It was pretty light color, so I got away with my colorless blender. So I'm using the coordinating dies. I'm going to die cut out my little girl and my two books, and now we're going to set these aside and go ahead and work on our background. Now, to make my bookmark, I thought it'd be fun to just kind of elongate our tag die. This is the Fancy Edges tag die set. Love the set. I'm going to use this little fancy edge, my tag, and then we're going to use the piece that goes around the top of the tag to create our little bookmark. I'm bringing in another piece of white cardstock, and we're going to actually, well, I think we need to trim this down to 2.5 inches, but I think we're going to need to cut it down a little bit more because our tag's a little bit smaller than 2.5 inches. I'm going to die cut out one tag, and then this little fancy edge piece I thought we could use as a cloud border, so I'm going to slant it at a diagonal, and then that's where we're going to stamp our sentiment on the upper half. And then I'm going to take that same fancy edge, flip it around on the very bottom of my tag, and cut out a piece to make it like a little grassy area. So this is going to do double duty. Now this piece is going to actually be glued down to the top of my cardstock here, but we need to trim it down. I need it to be the same width, and this is slightly larger. And in fact, I think I was going to eyeball it, and I thought, well, I don't have to recut. You know, what do they say? Measure twice, cut once. So I think we better just measure it first and then mark it with a pencil and then cut. I think that's the safest way. I'm trying to find my pencil and only found a pen, so I lightly marked it, and then we'll just slide this through the paper trimmer and trim off. It's a little bit, about 1/8 of an inch we need to cut off, but I'm just lining it up, and then you could see my pen mark, so I scooted it over just a little bit more, and I think this is going to work out perfectly. Okay, now I lined it up, and then I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the corners on top, and then I thought I'll bring in a paper punch and punch a hole where the existing hole is on that fancy edge piece. But I thought, you know, let's skip that all together, so technically you don't have to snip off the ends. I'm just going to scoot it up like this. So the tag in the back, and it's not going to be as pretty in the back, but I'm just going to scoot it up, guys. So I'm going to lightly tack it down. Once it's tacked down, I'll bring in the paper trimmer, and I'm trimming it down to fit an A2 size card front. So it's 5.5 inches tall. I think this is going to be a cute little bookmark. If you want to make it thinner, I think you could get away with that too. I'm going to go ahead and remove this top piece, and then we're going to bring in a stencil. I'm bringing in the Cloud Stencil from Nook Designs, and also we're going to use a Sunscape Stencil. We're going to start off by adding a little cloudy background on our long tag here, and I'm using my Distress Oxide ink. This is Tumbled Glass. Just using my blending tool and doing a light cloud shading on the background here. I think we're going to flip it over and get a different section here. And we're going to go almost all the way to the bottom just to create a soft background here. Well, I'm just going to do a little ink blending with the rest. Now after we have this done, I think that looks very pretty. We're going to go ahead and just I'm going to use some adhesive and go ahead and tack this down. After I had this adhered, I thought, well, you know what, I wanted to bring in a sun with the sun rays for my background. So that's what we're going to do next. We're just kind of going to line it up. After we have this lined up, I'm going to go ahead and figure out my placement, make sure it's the right size. And I think that's going to look good. Next, we're going to bring in our sun stencil, and I actually, on this stencil, I have a little bit of that pixie spray behind it, so it's going to be able to tack down. I need to kind of measure. I want half of the sun peeking underneath my top cloudy area, so I just kind of measured it. I'm going to tap it down, and then we're going to bring in some squeeze lemonade and do a little bit of shading with our sunbeams here. Just lightly going over it. I was going really lightly because I didn't want to turn my my background green. So I think this worked out fabulous. Loved a little sun. After we have this done, I thought we would go one step further and add a little sparkle to our little bookmark. So I'm relining it. I'm actually going to bring in some scratch paper here, and then I'm going to bring in some Nouveau Glimmer Paste. This is Moonstone, and love this stuff, and I'm waiting for it to dry out, but you know what, I still have lots of use. I think I have probably about 2 projects left with this stuff. So we're just going to open it up and add a little sparkle. Moonstone is like a golden iridescent glitter paste, so, and it dries pretty quickly, guys. So I'm just going to try and find my spatula that got buried on my desk. But I'm going to use my spatula, and we're going to add some sparkle over the same yellow area that we added to our sunshine here. It's going to add a little bit of dimension too. We'll just evenly spread this out, grab a little bit more. We're at the bottom of the barrel of this glimmer paste, but I think I do have a couple more uses left here. But just kind of evenly spreading that out. I need a little bit more down here in the bottom, and I think that the shiny is going to look perfect. Okay, we're going to just close the lid on this jar, and then I get to remove it here and see the nice reveal. Now when you remove your stencil, you're going to have a little bit of that paste overhanging on the edges of your cardstock. So I just pick it up and I use my hand and kind of wipe away the edges just so it's a nice clean edge. But you can see that sparkle. Okay, after this is done, we're going to set that aside and let that dry. I thought we'd add a little bit of that blue cloud to the very top of our fancy edge piece. So I'll use that same stencil. We're going to move this out of the way so we have a little more room, and then I'm going to use my, again, tumbled glass and add a little bit of clouding just so it's continuous from the top to the bottom here. Do one more spot down here, and I think that's going to work out great. Now after we have this done, I'm going to bring in my little tag topper here. We're going to color this with our tumbled glass too. We'll just add a little light shading here, and then we'll add a little bit of color to our bottom area that we're going to use as a little green hillside. I was going to bring in some green ink and thought, you know what, we're just going to mix the two that we have on the desk here. So I started off with adding my tumbled glass. I did do a layer of my squeeze lemonade, and then added a little bit more, just kind of flip-flopping colors until I got a nice bright green. And that's going to go on the very bottom of our little bookmark. Okay, after we have this done, I cleaned up my little desk area and it's just about dry, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little more adhesive behind the top of my tag. We're going to line it up at the 5.5 inch mark here using the grid lines on my mat, and I think that looks wonderful. Loving the way this is turning out so far. I'm going to add adhesive behind our little green grassy area. This was a little wide, so I'm going to go ahead and trim off that right side just using my scissors. We're going to go ahead and add adhesive behind our little tag topper. Kind of bend it a little bit at the score line. Just flip it on front and flip it around here. So this is good to go. Next, we're going to flip over our images and our tag, and we're going to add some foam squares behind here. I went really light with the foam squares, just adding 3, because this way it's removable from the card base, and then you can use it as a bookmark. I thought that would be so fun. Okay, we're going to bring in our card base, which is a standard A2 size card base. We're actually going to put this, we're actually going to stamp our sentiment. I forgot to stamp our sentiment. It was just going crazy without a sentiment. I chose the one that says happiness is coffee and a good book. We're going to bring in some VersaFine Onyx Black ink and just stamp that in the white cloudy area. Originally I was going to offset it, and if you haven't noticed by now, I changed my mind a lot. We're going to center it for our bookmark. And eventually we're going to add some chocolate brown and white baker's twine to the very top here. But I'm going to grab my foam square, put that back on the back side, and add it. I think we're going to go with the right of our card base here. We'll add our images just over that little green area, and I think that looks super fun. You can see I added my bow also. Last but not least, we're going to bring in some Nuvo glitter drops. This is White Blizzard. It's the same color as the Moonstone Glimmer Paste. So we're going to add it to the little hearts of our books and also to the hair pretty of our little girl. But that finishes off my card for today, guys. I encourage you guys to check out the brand new August release. It's pretty amazing. Links are down below if you're interested in anything that you see today. But had super fun. I think it'd be a nice little gift to give, to remove it as a bookmark. If you like reading like I do, I think this would be a nice little card. But thanks so much for stopping by. Have a fabulous day, and we will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.